And apologies to everybody out there. For some reason today we've had a couple of snags on the internet. Looks like it likes to come back for us, though, at least today. Days prior, it didn't come back at all. Didn't miss a whole lot of racing, only a little bit of a trip through the Middle Village. I believe we'll have to just rename one of our YouTube streams, and that's about it. So not too much damage done. Matt Rathwell now, it looks like, as well as Lieberman, the ones that were doing the main bit of damage in the group. Amongst the men, they are about to hit their first sprint point out on course. As they do so, we'll jump on over there and take a look at their standings. Again, apologies for the little bit of interruption for the internet out there today. It seems like just a couple of resets need to be happening, but we're good to go now at this point. A couple of bigger names showing up, it looks like, out here today, as we do have Ashton Lamby, and I'm seeing, I believe, Greg Taylor. Is that going to be Carly for, I believe, for the GHQ Rockets, and Betancourt. Kieran Lewis is out here as well. Great to see. Mixing it up with the boys out here today. I believe that's going to be Carly Taylor, unless that's going to be Craig Taylor. I'm going to have to figure out which one, as there are two C Taylors coming out of Zwift HQ. Maybe I can get some help over in chat to give us an idea of where things are standing there. But great to see either way. The current standings amongst the men, so that's mixed out here right now. It is going to be Velocio, followed up by Next Level. Royal City there sitting in for third. Plush, 1 point ahead of Dirt Alert. Restart at 28 points there in sixth. Velocio Trail Mesh there, the B team there for the Velocio team. Vet Next Fave as well with the B team in there. 27 points and 23 for ATP Hydrogen. ZTBR there in for 10th as they do head into this first sprint point. Be on the watch out for, I would think, Velocio next year, try and grab as many points as they possibly can to really put their stomp of domination so far in this series. Race number 3 out here today. And moving forward now, let's see how Velocio sets this up. ATP, though, and then Sarnecki here coming from the Restart team. As you can see, the banner off in the distance for the first points on the day. A lot of times this is where you do get the fastest through the segment, though. It's going to be Garani now, Velocio Trail Mesh now setting things up. Here come the power-ups already being thrown down. Early attack here. Kevin Bouchard Hall, interesting that he would go this early, being chased very quickly there by Taylor. That is for the jump, and the reason I think he did do that is because he only had a feather power-up, looking to see if he can get the jump and hold. Taylor, I think, going to be able to hold on to this one. Velocio with Wetmore. And I think Bouchard Hall just able to nip it at the line above Jay Frank, his teammate. Big gaps opening up immediately right here. Will there be a continuance? And after a sprint like that, I'd definitely be putting my head down a little bit and seeing if we can muster on, especially with the climb about to come. This kind of a group up here with this kind of a talent, especially with Ference hanging in here from Velocio as well as Gumbel. I mean, Velocio and Next get off the front. They're not going to really be too bothered on any kind of a chase from their teammates. So not going to look to take advantage of that as Kieran Lewis, who is a major threat on any kind of a climb, immediately heads toward the front at 5.3 watts per kilogram. 188 beats per minute, though, coming from Kieran. 189, definitely in a little bit of a suffer bust here at this point. Alexander Gagnon, like a canyon there from ODZ, old school racer. Good to see him back in the fold. 6.3 watts per kilogram coming from him on that S5. Very matchy. I think the Fashion Police would give this a solid 7.5 out there. The KOM, a little bit of red accents. It's going to work a little bit with the blue in there. And then an orange Zwift hat is most likely where the point drop, I think, is going to come amongst this fashion setup here. Anna, give me a rating. I know you're watching. What do you think on this one? The women now coming through. Apologies, I'm missing there. The men were just getting moving out there for their sprint points. Sometimes we do miss the sprint points if they do come through at the exact same times, and these two did come through just about the exact same times. This is going to be the main group starting their second lap out here today for the ladies. Let's go ahead and see how things are for their standings. We do have the sprint points up and running now for us. And it looks like after one lap, Claire Cameron, 30 points solid, both fastest through segment and first across the line. McMaster there with 15 and 8. It's going to be Christina Grossman. Riot. Just jump over a jersey, and you've got first, third, fifth, and seventh out there for Riot with Rathwell, Gallagher, Grossman, and Cameron on the domination. And if we look at the standings, they're currently sitting tied for that. Is it going to be third place overall, I believe? So this is going to really be a change-up moment, I think, on the day, as Riot here in fourth place, but tied at 35 points. Definitely could make a jump out here today if they continue on. If they win on the day and Dutch Diesel don't have the greatest of days, Grouch and Gallopin don't have the greatest of days, they could really make a jump, tie it for first, or at least close that gap down a little bit. This is a huge showing today for Team Riot, and really throwing down on these points. We'll see if they can continue on with this kind of a situation, though. Have all of those Fluros made the lead group at this point. It does look like they're still sitting in there pretty. Cameron is still there for sure. Rathwell, Grossman has made it. The thing about this climb, it's not very sharp. Grossman can really find a wheel, most likely not get dropped off, and just set up really well. The other thing is she does have some very solid FTP type riders with Rathwell in there. The reality of trying to drop them off in any way. Cameron as well, I think, can close down some gaps pretty easily. So, and Fiona as well. So this is a team that's really set up well to support their sprinters on the day. Obviously, Cameron showed us that she's got the kick there as you're looking at the points. It's not necessarily all about going plaid out there today with Grossman, although she did show up, I think, with a higher kick in watts per kilogram. But maybe the timing just a tad off. We did miss one of the sprints, though, just a moment ago. See if we did happen to catch a replay of it. I don't think the button was pressed just yet. The button has been pressed, and we'll get all of the off-camera action recorded for you from here on out as well. But women here now making their way on through. We'll jump back over to the men's as the ladies are just getting going into their second lap. A few Ks before they do see that next sprint point. So let's go ahead and see if we can find out what's happening with the men as they make their way up and over the top of this first climb. It does look like things all back together as we jump back in with Gagnon here from the Restart Racing crowd. It is a solid group at this point. Really Grupo Compacto. Everybody's kind of in hand-holding mode on the wait for anyone else to make any kind of moves. I think this is a good tactic at this point with such a large group and so much firepower to try and break away at this point. Most likely just going to get shut down. Let's hear an extremely confident rider get Zwifty there. Abbott hammering away at the back, maybe de-essing out there a little bit as well. As we make our way back to the front, let's see how things are starting to set up for this next sprint. A lot of times this sprint is a little bit different than the other as it isn't in a flatter section. You're coming right off of a steady climb where the heart rates most likely are going to be a little high. The way that they're setting up for this one, though, I get the feeling that Ashton Lambdy's at 181 beats per minute right now. So I'm not sure that this is in easy land. We need to get those core temperatures down, that's for sure. Barton there, Velocio 4.3. Steady, nothing too extremely serious. Let's go ahead and hang out with Chad a little bit here and see. Oh, looks like mainly we've got Twitch going on because most likely people are having trouble finding the YouTube stream. We'll see if we can make a little bit more sense for that for everybody, as a lot of the viewers probably lost us for a moment. Anna's like, Riot is crushing this 100%. Anna, okay, we do see chat now over on YouTube. Good to see the Facebook viewers. If you're just tuning in, most likely as Facebook stream just went back out. Great to see you, and we're in with the Americas East Division 1A and the Women's Americas East Division 1A for the Zwift Racing League, race number 3. On the front here, Ashton Lambie from Next Level, presented by Insured, leading things out toward the second sprint point on the day. Take a look real quickly at how things have played out for the preem so far for this men's race. Across that first line, Wetmore takes it down for fastest. Actually, no, neither. Just first across the line, fastest through segment, second gets him the most points. Ferentz's teammate takes the fastest through segment and gets one of the places for first across the line at 23. Jay Frank, the other teammate, 17. So a little bit of domination here. It doesn't look like anything's changing up from what we saw from the current team standings. Velocio in a dominating position so far with 40 points, 2 points ahead of next level as they head into this race number 3. Taylor and Gumbo from the Next Level Esports team, the only ones that could really make any kind of a challenge. Lambie looking to go. And if there's anybody who can make the craziest, fastest 1K in the world, it would be this man at 9.9 watts per kilogram. This is about 1K out from the line, 792. And will he be able to make this happen? We're talking world record holder at this kind of a distance, boys and girls. Will he go to the line with it? 200 almost beats per minute. The real impressive thing is if he does get over that 200 beats per minute, does he have it? He's got 2 seconds over the field. And Lambie shows us why he is the fastest over that kind of distance in the world. What a kick there coming from him. And just kind of walks away. Everyone else that tried that today absolutely failed. So nice job to Lambie there and grabbing those points. And that's a little bit of an upset for the rest of the field because a lot of times you can just wait and hold and, for the sprint to open up from the middle of the field. But that was about as good as it gets right there from the Next Level team. Barney at the back here, as you can see, as well as Keaton from the Dirt Alert team. A little bit of a gap. They don't want to let go too much. The arrow power up from the ATP rider will definitely assist here as Keaton and Dirt Alert make their way across. They're gonna do just that. 2 seconds back though, Neelan and the rest of this crew, they are giggity gone for good as they go by a herd of boars with little piglets in tow. And Zwart now, Wouter Zwart, ATP now looking to get across, and he'll do it, I believe. He's got the kicks in the legs to do so. Just barely. This is still some separation. I have a feeling, though, at the front, there's a little bit of an effort to make sure that this doesn't come back, honestly, because a lot of times, usually this would be a little bit easier. Now, the speeds are extremely high, though. I have a feeling, though, that there is some press, and Velocio is pressing on just a bit to try and make sure, it seems, that this isn't super easy for the rest of the crowd. We did just miss a little bit of a sprint and an attack in the ladies' field. Let's go ahead and jump back in with them. They just came through their second sprint section. We should be able to get you a replay on that in just a moment. But Reagan Rathwell here, 6.1 watts per kilogram coming from her. An attack over the top. Rachel Believerman from ATP looking to make something happen about this. Whitney Post there holding on to the wheel, actually pushing toward the front from Sisu Du because they know that Rathwell is one who can just ride away. We've seen it in the past from her. And if she's on a good day, she'll hold down this solid 4.5 to 5.5 for the duration of the rest of the race. Now, Zanata here, Core AF, also to the front, but they are not matching the speed or the watts per kilogram from Rathwell. She backs off a little bit into this negative 1% gradient, looking to find a little bit of reprieve for just a moment until that force comes back in the pedals against her. Speed up into 43 kilometers per hour. If we look at a little bit of a comparison now, it was up to 45. Now it's up to 46 here from the pack, so they're traveling just a tad bit faster than Rathwell. But now as it flattens out and then goes back uphill, that's where her advantage is at trying to put the hurt on the rest of the pack. Grossman goes right to the front at 1.7, as well as Cameron, just shutting the door. Well done by the teammates there of Team Riot. Gallopin not having any of it. Crouch and Gallopin going right to the front with Alana Brady, saying quit messing with the speeds here. Still well within sight, though, with Rathwell. And, you know, this is a great play, though, for Riot, because Megan can cover moves. That's going to be one of the assets she's going to bring to the team out there today. And then on the other hand, it's like, I want to get something done. I want to do something in and amongst the race. And this is definitely where she can play that role to cause some mayhem amongst the other teams and force them to waste a little bit of effort. It does look like there's a little bit of decision-making happening right now about whether or not this is actually going to work. I think she is backing off at this point, saying, we're going to make him chase as much as we need to. Perhaps back up to 5 watts per kilogram, though. Seeing if something's going to stick maybe still here. 5 seconds is all it is. There's quite A lot of climbing yet to go. Perhaps not wasting too much effort through these sections. She lets her heart rate come back down. As you can see at that 169 beats per minute. Before, it was up into the 175s when she was seriously pressing on. Somerset at 2.9 on the front of this chase. They seem to think this is going to come back really easily. So just letting her dangle out there a little bit. Rachel Lieberman coming over the top from ATP says enough is enough. Let's go ahead and chase this down. Up into 39 kilometers per hour, and that is going to do just that. Rathwell now teasing something out, though, it looks like. The moment that Lieberman came up into 6 watts per kilogram real quickly here, as it does head uphill at 3%, maybe looking to say, somebody come across to me. That could be a play from some of the other teams. If they did want to launch someone across, Rathwell getting a wheel then to work with would be a much more of a threat than the solo rider. Now 2 seconds. This is going to be brought back into the fold most likely. And pretty much said and done with this attack. Will we see something come over the top? It's 162 beats per minute here, 172. If we start looking through Miller 168. So this wasn't an easy climb or retrieval of the Riot Rider. The rest of the team just sitting in. Not burning any matches and just making sure that they rest up for this next sprint point to grab as many of those premium points as they possibly can on the day so far. As we take a look at the splits, it's going to be McMaster there, though, from DDC, taking down 54 points so far. Grossman, Cameron, Gallagher, Rathwell, that's the situation with Remy in there in the middle of it all with 34 points for ATP Racing. Lehman's there with 5 points, able to get on the board in support of that. Now, Cryogen, though, they've got some work to do. 22, 11, and 11 at 7th, 8th, and 9th. Inside, not on the board as of yet. Plush as well. Need to be putting some work down for those fastest through segments. I'm not seeing too many of them, though, at the front end of this race any longer. Looking through and seeing who else do we have out here. Sisu do need a little bit of work as well. Not on the board just as of yet for the top 10 in order to get some points. Rathwell now just keeping things difficult, it looks like, so that nobody can rest up and just wait for that sprint. Perhaps that's what's happening. Grossman, it looks like now looking to set up for this next sprint point, making her way toward the front. Fiona now 4.3, perhaps now going to be the workhorse. Now 181 beats per minute coming from her. Rose City Cycling, though, with Somerset. Good to see her on the front in the Bumblebee kit. Frangos is there as well. Perhaps going to be late bloomers in and amongst the race laps out here today. We have seen that from a few of the other teams out there throughout the 2 days of racing in Zwift Racing League on McCurry Islands, where teams watch and see what happens for those first intermediate sprints. They focus in on the second half of the race and maybe the final finish line. We've seen teams win that way. So this race is definitely not settled or over in any way when it comes to these points right now. But McMaster definitely making a statement for DDC, but it's not going to be statement enough as you do a little bit of math out there, and Cryogen are right on the heels, even though they're 7th, 8th, and 9th currently, up into, what is that going to be, 44 points. Only 10 points behind McMaster. So McMaster's going to have to keep on grabbing points like that just to hold on ahead of Cryogen on the day, because numbers matter so much in a team race like this one. So good to see all the chat coming on through here. Being told, it's hard to hear that from Daniel Larson telling us that Becca's out from last minute, sick in the last minute. Good to see KK hanging out in the chat, cheering on Christina Grossman, having a solid race in the Premier Division as well. Lipka's in here, riders inside on trainers number 1. Good to see Lipka. Hopefully he's been having some good racing out there as well. Get it Sisu from the Sweet Cyclist, as that's going to be for Whitney Post, obviously. Michael Sweet hanging out in the chat. Hang in there for the DDC from Daniel Larson. Only with the single rider, it looks like, able to hang on. I believe that's, yeah, and that is right. Only McMaster able to hold on at this point as we head into the next sprint. Grossman set up well, 2.8 watts per kilogram. Rathwell looking to come on through, it looks like, to set up for the rest of the team. Cryogen galloping to the front. Frango's now, and this is going to be the moment, I believe, for Royal City if they're going to make anything happen whatsoever. 4.6 now coming from Royal City. They're with the drafting power up now. 5. No orange numbers as of yet. Alana Brady now looking to set up to try and take this down. Rathwell now 7.6. Here comes Cameron. Cameron has been on fire so far. Cannot be touched. Completely gaps the field at 10 watts per kilogram. It's going to be minor placings, really, that this is about. Cross the line. It's going to be ATP followed up by Brady. Gallopin. Grossman's the first one for Riot. McMaster hanging tight in there still for the first across the line points. So very solid ride still for McMaster. Riot fading a little bit on the second lap. Maybe this was the setup for them to grab points early on, but perhaps fading just a tad as to what they are able to do, or maybe getting a little bit of like, don't worry about this. Just make sure you grab the best points you possibly can. Let's make sure we get these last 3 or that final kick across the line for those maximum amount of points that you do get for the finish line on the scratch race. Let's go ahead and jump on in over toward the men's race. They are making their way up their climb. There's a little bit of mayhem, actually. They just came through their last sprint point, and it does look like some splits actually taking place as they make their way through the first village after the countryside intermediate sprint. Lambie was on the back for just a moment there. Looks like Velocio in full control as you do see the bright yellow kits out there. Neon, excuse me. They're Barton there for Velocio driving the pace. Plush as well as Next Esports still hanging tough there with Cassidy on the far left out of the US of A. Dirt Alert, we do see 1, maybe 2 Dirt Alert teams still able to hang in there tough here, but it does look like Lambie has no interest in making this an easy race as they're halfway through this first climb onto their second lap. First climb of the lap onto their second lap. Ferentz now following things up very closely. Royal City there with Nixon as well, making sure Next do not send too much of a distance between themselves and the rest of the pack. Definitely, that would be within their favor. Velocio have been so incredibly dominant so far when it comes to these sprints. It would definitely be a good move if they could send any of the next team off the front. Interesting enough, we'll wait and see if we do get an update on these. I believe this is maybe not holding that Lambie sprint is there. He definitely got first across the line on that last checkpoint, and that not in this last one, but the one at the top on for lap number 1. So we'll wait and see how that ends up changing up for us in those point standings here in just a minute. Also see if we can find the replay in just a moment as well for that last sprint. But looks like about a solid 23, 24 riders making this lead group. The teams that are going to be represented still here. Velocio Trail Meth. Rule 5 with Kilborn is in here as well. As you can see, Clan Knox and Royal City Cycling all still involved on this in this men's race. About halfway up the climb at this point. Women just starting in on their third lap here in just a moment. And this is where the story is really going to be told between them as we head back on over to the women's race. For their preem situation and where things stand. Let's go ahead and take a look at the women's standings to start, though. As we tell the story, if you're just tuning in, Dutch Diesel Cycling, Atomic Spice there with Crouch and Galvin, both at 39, but struggling on the day a little bit. It sounds like a couple of the riders, they're a little bit under the weather, as well as just not able to hang on perhaps on the day as well with the way that ATP and Riot have come out to play. Now, Riot with the most to gain, as we do, again, take a look at their current situation with Grossman and Cameron at the top, 69 points and 64 points, with a lot of FAL and FTS there showing exactly why. Master's still holding strong, but only gaining 9 points since the last points section, sprint points section out there today. Brady and Remian out of the US of A from ATP. This is a rider that definitely has caught the attention as up and coming out of the woodwork here. So be on the watch for that rider at 46 points, riding strong. Rathwell also and Brady still making representation there. Now the change up there in the points just a tad for a second. Gallagher They're in 7th with 22. And it looks like Whitney Post grabbing a few points as well. Coming on in with that 8 for Sisu I Race Like a Girl. So as we make our way toward the next sprint point out here, it looks like everybody calming right on down, and all they're thinking about is the kicks to the line at this point for intermediate most likely. So Gruppo Compacto, not a whole lot of landscape to work with out here either, out in the countryside. On this, this is going to be the flatlands of the flatland loop, essentially. We are going to jump back over to the men's racing as the next point out on course where they will be battling for the next sprint points. Ashton Lambie just straight up took this from about 1K out last lap. We'll see if we can make it happen again as Andrew Ferentz makes his way to the front. Ex-professional hockey player, 153 beats per minute. Looks like the fitness for Ferentz is coming up a little bit week in and week out, coming into Zwift racing season in the Zwift Racing League. Kieran Lewis making the front group. Looks like his fitness is well coming along. I think he was perhaps dropped off last week. Might have been inattentiveness, as a lot of time Lewis does have pretty high FTP and can mix it in with the best in the A+. Take a quick look. We'll bring these preems off here and take a look at the men's side of things. As it is going to be Wetmore still at the top at 63 points. This is almost unstoppable at this point. And then it's going to be Kevin Bouchard, Hall, and Ferentz. I'm not sure anybody can bring anything back. And it really, as we do see Lambie doing what Lambie does again, if that's going to be, or is that actually going to be Mullins? Mullins going from a little further out. This is more like a K and a half out at this point. 7 point. This is where he can gain up to about 5 to 10 seconds at this point, and this is definitely a threat. Velocio is going to make sure that that's not going to stick by just ramping up for a moment, making sure that the pack, no, Welford doesn't really care about the pack. I thought perhaps he was just trying to get the speed of the pack up to make sure that Velocio would have a wheel to kick from, but instead he's just looking to straight up go across. Next level here with Jacob, trying to make something happen, but Mullins with the upset, they will not bring this back. The speed's high, but not quite high enough. With 100 meters to go to the line here, Mullins is going to take it down. Ashton Lambie and Ferentz here neck and neck. Ferentz going to do it. I'm not sure Lambie was able to hold on to fourth there, as I think he got nipped at the line all the way down to fifth place, perhaps, by all the Velocio riders here. Kevin Bouchard Hall taking that down with Frank as well. Ferentz on through, so solid efforts there, but Velocio able to get the next placings behind numero uno that was coming in from next. What a move there, though, from the next riders. Now, Dirt Alert coming on through, interesting enough. Perhaps that was just a stay on terms power up, and you can see how strong the arrow power up is, as he was most likely using that just to make sure he doesn't get dropped. Boom, right to the front. Has to be careful now not to get dropped out off the back. After that, go ahead and jump back in with our ladies and see as they make their way through the lower sections, about to hit the next sprint section of the course. And this is the last two grabs for points before the finish line, actually, for the ladies out here as they start to open things up. It's going to be the DDC, the lone DDC rider, McMaster, who's been keeping them in this race, using a very early arrow power-up. I think mistakes were made, boys and girls, because there is the banner off in the distance, just making things difficult for herself, perhaps, almost becoming a lead-out for the rest of the ladies here now. And here comes Cameron now, 11 watts per kilogram, now showing us what the sprint is all about on this team today. Grossman, Rathwell actually is going to be the one for Riot out here today. Grossman, perhaps because of the nature of this course, struggling a little bit, being more of a pure sprinter, but Cameron showing us all around the efforts here. Jill of all trades. Little ways back now, Fiona Gallagher, the new pickup, gets right back on terms, directly to the, not even on terms, goes on the attack. Fiona Gallagher with 3 Riot up front. This is a moment they could just walk away. We saw it earlier today with the world champion out on course within EMEA, riding for the Roca Corba team. Ashley Moomin Pasio and Courtney Webb making moves earlier today, and came out to throw haymakers, and on this climb walked away from everybody else. See if they're looking to do something similar to that. No go, it looks like, from Riot, as they do get swallowed up by the rest of the pack here at this point. Hanging on the back, though, interesting enough to see Cameron. Is she suffering after taking down all of those sprints on the day? Really putting them in that command position, though, to make sure that they will not be threatened for the win, most likely. They would have to really be completely uninvolved in these next two sprints for them to be threatened. The reality is that the numbers, though, are toward the front of the last couple of sprints, have not seen a whole lot of those fluoro kits. And because of that, we may see a situation here where, early fireworks end up peering out there toward the back end of this race. Gallopin trying to come across at 6.0 as Rathrow goes on the attack. And if there's any time to do it, lap number 3, when they're stinging the legs and they've been softened up, this is the moment here for Megan. 178 beats per minute, a lot higher than we saw. This is an all-in more so. Before, we saw it dipping underneath 5.0 a lot more. Alana Brady looking to go across with Gallopin. It's a good move for Gallopin. Just what they need to get on top of, because they are way behind when it comes to the current preems. Only, Brady here with 26. Domans and Martin there, 9 and 8. So some big changes that need to be happening for Crouch and Gallopin, and this is exactly what they need to be doing. Now that the fact that they put Riot out front, it puts ATP and DDC on the back foot. Definitely going to be up for them to make this chase now. The main representation in this pack is going to be Team Riot, ATP, Gallopin as well. So if we talk about the mix here with Riot and Gallopin being the most avatars, I think, ATP, it's going to be up to them to chase, or some sort of concerted effort from some of these other teams that don't have the numbers. Kind of get together, shake hands, and say, hey, we need to make a deal here. This rider's going up the road. Looks like McMaster is interested in that. Going to do this as a solo effort, perhaps. Gallopin going to need to put a little bit more muster, it looks like, into this breakaway. Rathwell was pulling a solid 6 watts per kilogram for a little while here. She's not getting the same in return, though, for her investment at the front. Now back up at the 7, but a little bit disorganization in the way that they're riding this TTT type effort. Brady's going to have to press up and over forward. Maybe they're trying to control this. This doesn't look like Gallopin's interested, to be honest. I'm not positive that Crouch and Gallopin are super... Well, perhaps they are. Now we do see 4-6 there. For a moment, there may have just been some confusion about whose turn to pull it was. Now it's back out to 4 seconds. So solid racing here again. Coming in from the Gallopin team to try and make a move. Now Kinsey Remnian here for ATP has made her way directly to the front. She's been the rider that's been the breakthrough so far with that 53 points, as you do see, 31 and 22. Dave spotted her last week as somebody to be watching out for. Newer rider to the world of racing, level 39, so lots of Zwifting, but jumped on Zwift, it looks like, for racing back in March 26th of 2021 this year, actually. And is jumping right on in. Did the WTRL team time trial, Zone 13, back on 9/23, and then bam, right on into racing with Zwift Racing League on the 5th of October. So good to see Kinsey as she jumps in and amongst the crowd here, and as she is one of the riders for ATP that's bringing this back. We just see her take a little bit of a pull. Rachel is there as well. So ATP, like we said, it's going to be on ATP to make this come back. Or Lederer here, even though not having too many teammates, says, fine, we'll make it happen, and heads directly to the front and just starts taking polls on the solo journey for Core AF. Good to see, 182 beats per minute. Keeping it within striking distance. Are they going to tire is going to be the question, because, again, Riot is either going to jump across, Crouch and Gallopin, they're either going to jump across, or they're going to leave this alone and not touch it. Let it form the life of its own and just get away here. Rathwell now coming through. We saw a solid 8 watts per kilogram there for just a second. Maybe was a little bit concerned that she was going to fall off pace. Confusing the other riders just a tad, though, it looks like. Speed is going to come down for just a moment. We're seeing 35 kilometers per hour. The comparison's always great to do to know whether or not the speed's going to keep on going out. Was up to 36 for a moment there, matching. Well within sight still. Chat, let us know, is the break going to stick? What's the opinions out there today? My feeling is that this is most likely going to be coming back. We are about to get an open up here of our next sprint here for the men. So let's go and take a look at how that ends up playing out. As they make their way into this next sprint section. Ganyan Yao, Royal City Racing here as well. Ganyan setting toward the front, maybe a little bit out of position. Royal City Cycling now with Jamnicki. Gaining now 9 watts per kilogram as he sits on the wheel, about to open things up. It's going to be Barton here from Velocio. 10 watts per kilogram there coming from Frank. They're all saving just a tad, I think. We're not seeing these big 15 watt per kilogram digs as Wetmore almost given that, I feel like, as Wetmore rolls across the line. Perhaps a little bit of softening as well. But now, wait a second. Was that off the front? Or did I miss the rider off the front there from next? Or was that a lapped rider is going to be my question. There may have been a rider off the front that was caught, actually, just a moment ago. Because I'm not seeing, I'll just double check here, the mileage nearby, because that'll give us all the answers. And I believe we may have missed a rider who went on the break to get away from the rest of the pack and actually took down the first across the line. As they did get caught. Back in with the ladies, though, because this is going to be the moment of truth. It's whether or not this breakaway is going to stick. That was the situation with the men's sprint. We'll start looking at their point. Well, we look at their points real quickly and where they stand. It is going to be Wetmore, Bouchard, Hall, and Ferentz. And now Jay Frank. Not a whole lot has changed. Gumbel and Lambie now taking down a few extra points, though, for next esports. But Velocio continuing with their domination. Taylor and Mullins now also making up a little bit, though, toward the bottom end. Abbott is in there as the attacks start to throw down. This is, we might want to keep an eye on this for just a second, but the ladies are coming into their next minute sprint. If that does stick, we'll be able to tell you in just a moment. But the ladies here with a solid breakaway situation. Rathwell continuing on. This is the final lap. So looking to try and stay away. 7 seconds. She's going to have to get this out to over 10. And the ladies behind will have to completely sit up. 6.4 watts per kilogram, all in for Megan Rathwell now at this point. This is an amazing effort. And, you know, even if this does not stick, she's throwing it all out on course. This does cause an amazing situation for Team Riot, being because anyone from Team Riot can just sit in now at this point and wait for the final kick 200 meters to the line at the bottom of that descent. It's absolutely perfect for Riot because of how this sprint especially plays out. Just being able to coast all the way until that final 200 meters will open it up for the largest amount of wattage that you can possibly throw down in the shortest period of time. Grossman, well set up here, sitting on though, not chasing as you can see, backing right on off, forcing all the other teams to do the work. Rathwell's still off the front now. She's actually catching lapped riders. No, Alana Brady comes over the top. Rathwell's blown up. Nothing left in the tank. Perhaps Brady is gone. Goes over the top now. Rathwell going backwards. And now Fiona here from Riot trying to close things down, as it may have been a little bit of an upset, but this is most likely going to be coming back. Alana Brady may be off the front, but there's just too many avatars on the chase. Fiona, though, really setting a pace here to try and bring this back as quickly as she can. She will do just that. Lieberman now leading things out for ATP with a good setup for ATP with, it looks like, Kinsey Remnian on the wheel. Where is Grossman? Cameron's there as well, sitting right now. Watch Claire Cameron here. This is going to be the setup. Grossman's there as well. Fifth wheel. Do not want to make their way to the front, though. They do not want to have that front wind push them backwards. And now it's going to be all about whether or not there's a lead out woman, or if they're just going to keep on rotating and trying to feather each other all the way to the line. Now it's going to be Turner, Woods Turner to the front, setting a steady pace, it looks like. Grossman still sitting fourth, fifth wheel or so. Where's Claire Cameron? Claire Cameron also going to be the Riot rider to be watching out for. Will they be able to upset the apple cart of Riot, though, with Core AF there sitting fourth wheel? Perhaps. Brady already with one of the upsets as well, and I wouldn't count her out in a sprint. Grossman sat 10th wheel, right where she needs to be to start building up speed. Very early power-ups. No panic from any of the Riot ladies here at this point. Here goes Turner, crouching, galloping, opening up super early. They don't need big watts just as yet. Somerset now, RCC now making her way to the line. It's going to be Master from DDC. Now comes the open up. Cameron, now Grossman, 10 watts per kilogram. Maybe a little bit too late, I think, from the ladies here. All the way to the line. It was just a little bit too late. Cameron comes on through, but ATP with Lieberman. Lieberman makes it happen. Lieberman with the perfectly timed situation there. That's all it came down to, was the timing at the end of the day. What a kick there from Rachel Lieberman. And let's just make sure we got this right. I mean, that was perfectly set up for ATP. Very impressive in the way that they played that here. As we take a look at this final sprint, it looks like the open up there from Gallopin just a little bit too early. McMaster, but Lieberman with the speed roll through. It's just a simple speed. Watch Lieberman and when she goes. And that's the crazy thing about this downhill, is that because of her timing here, Lieberman with 8 watts per kilogram, she started at the beginning. Anna, what's happening with the team, Anna? Look at where Lieberman goes. Right at that moment, boom, you see 8 watts per kilogram. There it is. Grossman, I think just a tad, and they come through with so much speed too. Look, do you see the speed? Watch how quickly they come up on her. Also, it was an aero power-up though. That definitely has everything to do with it too. The reality of the aero power-up versus the draft power-up. I think the jump, what could have happened here perhaps, is the jump could have happened with the drafting power-up at the exact same time as Lieberman, and they would have still been on that wheel. That would have been the situation to try to work that out for Team Riot, most likely. So, solid efforts, though, all around. Great job to the ladies. Let's go ahead and jump on over, though, to the men's races. They're about to finish things up out here. As Ference to the front. Oh, boy. I think we just lost our feed, everybody. We'll jump back in just a moment, real quickly, as fast as we possibly can. But the feed most definitely just died on us. We'll see if maybe we can jump across to a few of the other B and C category races out here today. The C's will have finished. The B's will most likely just be getting into their finishing straight here, as we do have Clark, it looks like, across the line. Most likely, I think, a little bit further back, Clark and the rest. See if we can find the front end of the race for the B's. Giving us a little bit of a struggle on the cameras there. In back in with the B ladies. As we are into the final, actually. This might be for the win. Amongst the ladies in the B category it is, as Murray and Fearless here, Yala. Katie from the B flies there as well. Inside Out now making their way to the front. And in this, we'll take a look at the standings here for them as well for just a moment. But it's going to be for Royal City to see what kind of a setup that they have. Inside Out, Team Fearless. I also see the Herd out here. That's going to be the B Flies. Erin T now making her way to the front. Always love to see the Herd kit with the Tron bikes. Royal City in the Bumblebee kits now to the front. Fearless. That's going to be Stanton. 4.7. Here comes WTRL with the B Juicers, though. A little bit early to make a kick off the front, though. Again, you saw where Lieberman went. The timing was absolutely perfect. Coalition with AB toward the back. That's actually a great spot to be if they start working their way forward with speed right about now. Here comes CCI Race like a girl. Freya holding tough, but Murray from CCNS, is she going to hold on? She's got the aero power up, but no, it's going to be the B Flies here with that aero power up coming from second wheel. Erin T holding it down. Nice kicks, but a little bit late from the rest of the pack. As you see those orange numbers and when they came through, it's just a little bit too late across the board. So as the men are making their way around out on course. I'm not sure, you guys, huge apologies. Not sure we're going to be able to get back in with the men's race. We'll be able to give you results for them, but the feed completely just goodbye. And with how short of a time it is to the finish line, they're going to be a little bit too difficult to jump back in with them here. Agawatt Queen Bees. Now this is for the minor, much further back placements. A few points on the line though. I believe it goes out to 30 plus points for the day. So as we wait for this next sprint to come on through, we'll start loading up some of the results here for the women's race that just finished up, as well as the men's. I believe the men's still out on course at the moment. We'll be having the America's West up and running here at 8:30 p.m. CST, Central Standard Time. So if you are looking to jump in and watch some of the racing here for the America's West, go ahead, hit that follow button, turn on your reminders wherever they might be for any kind of the streams. As we do have Tremblay here for the Watt sisters now out of Canada into the final couple of turns, as we do see the banner here off in the distance. The B-Flies again. Good representation. I'm loving the herd kits. Always some of the best names out there. Kelly here from Revo. Roloff as well. So much Canadian representation actually out here. And Barron there for ATP, the USA, with only 2 riders. The Australian Rach from the B-Flies as well, 4.1 watts per kilogram. As you can see her go to the back of the pack. Not necessarily in trouble, just a very good place to be heading into the final in order to gain as much speed as possible. But you got to have a solid kick to come around the rest of the riders, as we've noticed over and over again. Positioning has been so incredibly key. Tremblay going really early, though. Here come the aero power-ups. Those that are open up, as you see, at the beginning of that bridge usually come on through with a solid amount of speed, and it is going to be Vicky from the V-Flies, followed up by Rach and Collins from the B-Juicers. Going to take a look at the women's results then as they do come on in. And it is going to be Rachel Lieberman there from the Racing Stingers. First across the line there, followed up by Carly Zanata. And Christina Grossman across the line for third. Sarah McMaster there coming in for fourth. Claire Cameron, Kinsey Remian, Megan Rathwell rounding out the top 7 there. Victoria Lederer, Angela Quick for Core AF, and then Amy Blake. That's the situation out here for the top 10 in Division 1A for the Women's Americas East. In with the B category that we saw just finishing things up, it is going to be Patricia Murray for the CCNS Zany Zwifters, followed up by the Herd of Butterflies with Erin Tofo. Then Natalie Moreno for Agawatt Queen Bees. Mira Davies there across the line for Rights Iden. And then it's going to be Fearless Furiosis, followed up by Coalition Infinity. Royal City Cycling WB1 in for 7th there with Lindsay Robinson. Heather Broomer there riding for Coalition Infinity in 6th there. Rachel Stanton in 5th. Joey Lithgow there in 8th there. Melanie Little in 9th. And Katie Candeloro for the Herd of Butterflies in for 10th place. In for the C category, Maggie Carden for WTRL Drafting Dino C1. It's going to be Marilyn Charbonneau there for Les Watt Sisters JZQ C3. Nikki Tischauser in for the WTRL Drafting Dinos in 3rd there. Holly Bird, No Drama Llamas, followed up by Kelly Wagon there for the ATP Racing Hive. Deanna Maurer there for ATP Racing Hive. Isabel Champagne in for 7th for Les Watt Sisters. Bridget Brown for Herd of Marine Otters. Kelsey Ritter for Herd of Marine Otters. And then Sherry Bird there for Bird Townsend for ATP Racing Hive. In for the D category for the ladies, Molly Kreiper for the Revo Kit Kats. M. Cox there for the Drafting Dinos D1. Gonna be Yana Parsons. Revo Kit Kats there. Nat Brisboe for Vibe Energy. Chantel Herbert there for La Wet Sisters in for JZQD. Sarah Seat for Seesaw Race Like a Girl Pele. Heather Flanagan, WTRL Drafting Dinos D2, followed up by Sarah Dow in 8th for Rave Party. Nicole Portraz, they bought Sisters. And then it's going to be Lainey Doyle there for WTRL Drafting Dinos D1. The men's race, I believe, we'll be having some results here in just a moment for the men's results. We're reloading the women's here for a second. In the men's race, it does look like we have them. Here we go. So it is going to be Tony Gumble across the line for 4.6 watts per kilogram for the duration at 49.05. Only 3/1000ths of seconds. Alexandra Gagnon showing up for restart. That's a huge result for Alexandra. I have not seen him in a top spot like that in quite a while. Some of the old school esports racing coming back through to this season 1 of 2021-22 year. Jean-Philippe Vien, followed up by Ashton Lambie for 4th. His kind of sprint on the day. Mitchell Kilborn comes through for Rule 5, racing there in for 5th. Jason Frank for Velasio. Mike Morse for Velasio. Trail Mesh. Andrew Ferentz for Velasio. Kevin Bouchard Hall, followed by Mark Barton, all for Velasio. Solid stacking of the top 10, but some big points there for next level. But I think Velasio had so many points in the day already, it's not really going to dent into their armor. In the B category, Derek D'Angelo for Draft B. Ned Bowen as well for Draft B. Craig Brackens for ATP Racing Neon. It's going to be Andrew Putt there for ZHQ Rockets B. Chris Pignanelli, Royal City Racing MB1. Andy Kroll, nice job to him for ATP Racing Neon. Chris Carvalho for Draft B. Simon Peniel, ODZ Barracuda, followed up by Brenton Hendry for Draft B. And Fadil Boo, rounding out your top 10. That's going to be the America's East Div 1 mixed men's. In with the C category with a little bit shorter course out there today, it's Danielle Frizina for ATP Racing Freon, followed up by Dean Peddle for the Herd Mentality. It's going to be JF Marson for our Nuclear Rhinos. Justin Curon for Herd Mentality. Maurice Matthews, Exxon C1, EXN C1. Philippe Baumel for ZTBR Petaxo. Flavian Heralt for Cyclovino Le Watts Brothers. Then Ryan Howard for BPCC Apogee. David Wieneman for the Dirty Grinders, and Scott Sawyer for ATV Racing Freon. And last but not least, it's going to be the D category for America's East. John Witt comes through for the Racing Helium of ATP. Jeff Hugh for Dirty Watts Undiscovered. Potato Chaser there out there for Zed Sun Bums. Harry McFall for Dirty Watts Undiscovered. Jeremy Yates, ATP Racing Helium. Darrell Rittenberg comes through for Herd of Fighting Frisians. And Pierre Chiasson for the D3 Late Watt Brothers. Aaron Rodgers out there hammering away at ATP Racing Helium. Brian Berthium for WTR SQL Dinos. And Jamie Skrim in 10th place for the Dirty Watts. Underrated. Two of the dirts there, undiscovered and underrated. Well, that's going to be it for myself, everybody. Solo casting in week number 3. I think we're going to have Mr. Dave Towle back to, not tomorrow, but he'll have his internet back tomorrow. Myself and Kate will be on in a little over an hour for the America's West. We appreciate everybody tuning in. James Joseph Bards, we see you over at chat. See everybody else over at chat as well. Appreciate you, Anna, as well as Caden Cycling. And all of those who hung out for the broadcast out here tonight. Definitely have the results over my. That was a pretty look there for quite a while. Looking over at chat and talking through the results. You guys, very rarely going to be able to have that shot. Make sure to grab your screenshots and have some fun with that one, everybody. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Do as usual, hit those follow buttons, show the support, like buttons, and comment. Always helps out the channel. Know anytime that we do go live as well. If you do turn on your notifications. Kate Bates and myself back in a little over an hour for America's West. So don't go anywhere, and head on over to your respective streaming platforms, and we'll see you in 1 hour. As always, everybody, good job out there. WTRL.racing for all the rest of the results and the standings, and right on.